Hey yo, the Thor Love and Thunder teaser trailer dropped, and never in a million MCU years did I think that a Thor 4 trailer without Gorr the God Butcher, no action, no Loki, would get the mass approval of people on social media. But hey, I guess some Guns N' Roses and a workout montage would do the job, right? What up, I'm Nerd Master Kunch with Normies to Nerds. So while you're here, right, Gorr, because even though the only look that we have at him so far is still a toy, like bruh, we see the trail of his destruction, and it seems that Thor is figuring out what is happening to the gods throughout the cosmos. In fact, this shot right here is fresh out of the comics where Thor and Korg are looking into what's happening as they're looking at the body of a dead god. I'd even bet to say that all of the shots in this teaser involve a god in some point, even looking to Peter Quill, who is part celestial. And that brings us to Zeus, who is going to be played by Russell Crowe. To keep the 100-mile Olympics looks cool, but Zeus seems a lot like Thor from Thor 1 in the few shots that we've seen from him. A very self-centered god who could care more about his status and power rather than about actually being a king. And thanks to some Moon Knight connections, we know that Mount Olympus seems to be in the Overvoid, a different realm or dimension that sits in every timeline. And to be real, it actually has some of the same visual qualities as old Asgard, but I wouldn't get too used to seeing Olympus or Zeus. I've been saying it before and I'll say it again. Zeus will likely be the first victim of Gorr the God Butcher that we see on camera. Wouldn't he be surprised if it's the opening scene, setting the tone much like Thanos did when he beat Hulk's ass in Infinity War. Damn! And Zeus probably isn't the only god in the Overvoid that's in his path, as he could knock out other gods there like the Ennead or even Bast off camera. And while we're talking about Gorr, this shot right here could definitely be him arriving to Mount Olympus. But let's jump to the end of the trailer, because behind Thor and Mighty Thor, aka Jane Foster, we get a first look at Gorr's power, what could be him attacking New Asgard, and from the looks of it, he's winning with the help of his symbiote-looking Venom-type minions that are wreaking havoc there, tying the Necro Sword to his symbiote origin, leaving three possibilities for Gorr's origin story in the MCU. One being that he could have just stumbled across Hela's helmet, which we saw in the multiverse in What If. Two, they could change the origin of the Necro Sword to something similar to the Ebony Blade that we saw in Eternals. And this is actually not really that far-fetched if we think about Kevin Feige and where he's at right now with Sony. After seeing what they did with Mobius, and honestly, I'm not even that impressed by either one of the Venoms. I imagine that Kevin Feige isn't either. So he may want to distance himself from that Sony connection, especially when it comes to the symbiote. But if he's not distancing himself, the third and wilder one is somehow connecting Gorr and the symbiote that was left behind in the post-credit scene from No Way Home. And that can make sense, as having a symbiote in our universe could awaken a different type of force in our timeline that would call Gorr to it and give him this power. And if this seems too far-fetched, I really wouldn't rule it out, because again, I think this is Kang the Conqueror at it one more time, as he is shaping up Phase 4 to work in his favor, much like he did in the other three, constructing Phases 1 and 3 so that Sylvie would come along and kill him, leaving the window open for the Council of Kangs, the Kangs that are on his side. But what could Kang have to gain from killing other gods? I mean, come on, bruh. It's Kang. There are already theories out there that Kang, aka Ramatut, took out some members of the Ennead and led them and possibly other gods to stay hands off and out of his way, which is a solid Moon Knight connection, and could explain why all of the gods seem to be living in the Overvoid. And it could be at some point in the future, the gods would stand together and become a threat to Kang. But Kang, moving in the shadows in Phase 4, is using storylines to turn Gorr the God Butcher into his hitman to take out the gods, much like he used Loki to create the multiverse, and how he's going to be using Wanda in Multiverse of Madness to take out the multiversal Illuminati. That's right, I said it. Go watch my old video. Where this comes into play with Gorr the God Butcher is that I can see Kang the Conqueror conjuring up a storyline in the main MCU timeline that would cause Gorr the God Butcher to have so much hatred, that would cause him to want nothing more but to wipe out all of the gods in the MCU, at least the ones who do nothing and sit on their hands, right? So much like in the comics where Gorr the God Butcher's planet is pretty much effed up by gods who just come and do what they want and leave his people to struggle. I can see Gorr having that same motivation based on something that happens because of what Kang allowed to happen in the main MCU timeline. Now look, I'm not saying that Kang is going to show up in the movie or even that he's going to be in the post-credit scenes, but I would not be surprised if down the line, likely in Ant-Man 3, if Kang reveals that he did everything in Phase 4 so that he could be victorious and do something crazy like making the events of No Way Home happen just to get the symbiote into the sacred timeline for Gorr to take out the gods, clearing the path for the Council of Kangs to continue wreaking havoc across the multiverse. And for real, that does seem like some next level strategy that only two people I know of could draw that up. Kang the Conqueror and Kevin Feige. But yeah, coming back to Gorr real quick, as much as I would have loved to see Gorr pop up in the trailer, because again, my man's Gorr is getting dragged on social media because of the toy leaks that have been out there where he doesn't really look the best. But let's be real, it's Marvel. They're going to clean it up. And seeing that shot with the symbiotes in the background, or whatever they are, I don't want to call them symbiotes because they just might not be, but they're similar to it at least. But whatever. Seeing them in the background gives me hope that Gorr the God Butcher will have a great look and will look a lot better than what he does in the toy leaks. But yeah, this is just all off of the first teaser trailer. Again, no action, no Gorr, no Loki, which I'll actually hope we see in this film. None of that, and the trailer still blew people on social media away. I liked the trailer, but I wasn't honestly blown away. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Look, this is just the beginning of the Thor train. Now that trailer is dropped, theories are about to be popping. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel because we are on the grind to 500 subs. I am your Nerd Master Kunch, giving you all of your latest MCU and blurty news. I will holler at y'all in the next video.